Hi, Julie.
We got Julie and Mark.
Julie, can you hear me?
Good.
How's the fire situation in Sabellis?
1 hectare in size. No indication that it will affect any infrastructure or roadways or anything at this time. BC Wildfire is on it. Port McNeil responded. We're in good hands. We're just kind of monitoring the situation.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you for asking. Yes, and thanks to the SRD and their staff for coordinating.
I know. So did I.
This is a long agenda. Who approved this thing?
Who approved this thing? I don't know. We're going to be here all day. Good afternoon, everyone. It is 12:32. So I'm 2 minutes late. I apologize. Please deduct that from my pay. Okay, do we have confirmation of quorum?
We do.
We do, barely. Yeah, we got a lot of empty seats there. Call the meeting to order. We will acknowledge that we are located on the traditional territory of the Lakotech people. Adoption of agenda.
Move adoption.
I've got an amendment.
You have an amendment to the agenda?
Yeah, I'd like to pull members' report number 1, please.
Okay, thank you. We'll pull report. So approval of agenda as amended. Second, please.
Second.
Director Chapman. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Petition delegations, none. And the minutes of the regular council meeting that was held on May 10th, 2023 be adopted. Director Lott, second. Director Mawhinney, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. We have a fairly big agenda. Is everybody okay with me going through this fairly quickly?
Yep.
Okay, no business arising from other meeting. None. Public considerations, none. Notice of motions, none. Chair's report, none. Page 3, here we go. We'll go to committee chair's report that the drafts minutes of the regular council meeting, the regular meeting of the electoral area service committees held on May 10th, 2023 be received.
Move receipt.
Second. And Director Rice, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Staff report, residential waste collection on Quadra Island, that the report from the CAO be received.
Move receipt.
Mawhinney, Lott, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And that the report of the option that may be available to providing residents waste collection services on Quadra Island be prepared for further consideration.
So moved.
Mawhinney, she's right in there today, folks.
Second. Chapman.
Second, Chapman, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Regulation of groundwater resources, that the report from the CAO be received.
Second.
Move receipt.
Director Lott and Director Mawhinney, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. And that the amendments to the regional district zoning bylaw for electoral areas B, C, and D be prepared, which would limit the processing, bottle, and sale of groundwater to those areas were expressively permitted.
So moved.
Mawhinney,
Second.
Von Esch, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Management of roadside parking, that the report from the CAO be received.
So moved.
Second.
Mawhinney, Chapman, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And that the report of the legal restrictions associated with the roadside parking of commercial and other vehicles and the management of enforcement of those restrictions be prepared for further discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Director Chapman, Mulroney, discussion? Director Wally.
Yeah, just move an amendment that includes the words for electoral areas B, C, and D.
I'll second that.
Director Vonish, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
We need to vote on the amended motion.
And on the amended motion, you all understood what I said, right? On the amended emotions? Jeez, it's good. Let's slow down a little bit. Let's talk. On the amended motion, all in favor? Opposed? We had a first and second, right?
Yes, we did.
That's what I thought. Okay. Nope, my pleasure. Short-term vacation rentals, that the report from the CAO be received.
So moved. Move receipt.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. That the report of the legal status of short-term vacation rentals in electoral area C and avenues for managing their growth be prepared for further discussion, electoral areas only. Motion, please.
I'd like to move that.
Director Mulroney,
Second.
Director Vonish, discussion? Electoral areas in favor? Carried, none opposed. Community Wellness Grant, that the report from the CAO be received.
Second.
Wally, Director Mulroney, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And that the 2023-2027 financial plan be amended incorporating $29,665 from Island Health Community Wellness Grant to fund activities identified in the June 9th, 2023 report from the CAO. Motion, please.
So moved. Chapman.
Director Chapman,
Second.
Director Rice, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Emergency Operations Grant, Center Grant Award, that the CAO's report be received. Director Wally?
Second.
Director Mulroney, discussion? All in favor? Oh, sorry, Director Mulroney?
I have a question before the next one.
Before the next one.
Oh, before we move receipt of it. Is that what I'm talking about?
Now's fine. Yeah, as long as you turn on your mic. Yeah.
Well, I did read the report, and it sparked a question for me because one of the SRD projects listed in this report is a new mast for the visitor radio station on top of the roof of Strathcona Gardens. And I was curious what the relationship between the radio station and the SRD is.
CAO?
I'm not sure, well, other than, we've had a mast on the Strathcona Gardens before, and we'd used that for, public information, but this one, I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you, but I will find you the answer.
I would imagine it'd be probably a license of occupation for that tower.
Edith?
I'll have to find out that.
I do believe it's for emergency services.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And that the 2023-2027 financial plan be amended to incorporate the $329,200 from the 2023 Emergency Operation Grant to fund activities identified in the June 9th, 2023 report from the CAO. Motion, please.
I'll move that.
Receipt.
Second.
Director Rice, Director Chapman, discussion? Director Sanat, was that your hand up? No? Oh, yep. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I think, Mr. Chair, Sean can probably answer Director Mulroney's question.
Great, Mr. Koopman.
That's what you get for being late.
Director Mulroney has a question for you.
Sure.
We're going to just do that now. So this was a question regarding the Emergency Operations Center grant. And I was curious, one of the SRD projects listed was, or is, a new mast for the visitor radio station on the roof of Strathcona Gardens. And I was explaining I was curious what the relationship between the SRD and the visitor radio station was.
Oh, great question. So through the chair to the director, we own and operate that radio station.
So it's a fairly close relationship?
Literally.
Okay, good. That answer your question, Director Morwini?
It also sparked a lot more, but I will reserve those for the future.
Thank you very much.
It has a deep understanding history that I can prepare a further report on if there's interest, but I can send you more information on that.
Thank you, Mr. Kubin. Number 7, Environmental Appeal Board Decision, Mayfly Creek Dam. Report from the CAO be received. Move receipt. Director Rice. Director Wally. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Policy review. Access to confidential information. Report from the CAO be received. I'm sorry?
Move receipt.
I'm on 8 at the beginning. Was that my mistake or yours? Yours? Everybody caught that, right? Okay. All in favor? Did we didn't get a mover or a seconder? No? Oh. Moved, Director Wally, Director Chapman. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B.
I'd like to move the board support option B as outlined in the May 8, 2023 report of the Chief Administration Officer.
Second?
Director Rice, discussion.
So if I can, Mr. Chair, just to give a little background information, we've had requests that alternate directors be given access to our online portal, if you will. And historically, what we have done, if an alternate director is going to attend the meeting, we will give them, it's more about the in-camera information. We will give them a printed copy of the in-camera information. They show up. We will retain that when they leave. If you give them access to the certificate online, they can access everything historically that the SRD has done. Likely not a good idea, so we do accommodate them in terms of if they're substituting for a director, we'll make sure that the in-camera information is available to them.
Correct.
Chair, I didn't turn my mic on. Do you want me to do that again?
Please.
I move that the board support option B as outlined in the May 8, 2023 report from the Chief Administration Officer.
Can I
Second.
ask a question?
During discussion, Director Vonish.
Yeah, question to the CAO or staff. If that alternate director cannot make the meeting in person, how would they get access to that information? Is that like a PDF that can be sent, or like what would you recommend there?
Yeah, we've electronically given it or couriered it out yet, so we make sure that they have it before the meeting, but just that in-camera information, nothing else.
Great, thank you.
Director Smain.
Yeah, I just wanted to pipe up as an alternate director. I think that's a great idea to just share that section of the in-camera part. And just make sure if we can figure out how to email it a PDF, I think is a great idea. Because if you show it up just at the meeting, you might as well not give it to an alternate director. It's not enough time to read something right before a meeting or during the meeting.
And it's more great that you support it, but it's more for, I would say, the electoral area directors, is that you're sworn in as council and you may be an alternate here, but you're part of the bigger picture, if you will. Like, you're an alternate, but you're still an elected official. The EA alternates are not elected officials. So, that's what it really more focuses on.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Appointment to the Campbell River Table of Partners. Thank you. Director Morwini, discussion?
If I may, Mr. Chair, just
CEO?
give a little bit of context. Charmaine Enns called me a week and a half or so ago requesting that the SRD have a member on this table of partners. There's a long list. I think the group met already once. SRD didn't send somebody because we hadn't had this meeting and appointed anyone yet. It was her request that a staff member be appointed. However, I said to her that board makes the appointment, so I can't promise her anything. So giving you a few options here. You've seen the folks that are on that group already, and you decide who you'd like to represent, if anybody.
Okay. Director Dahl?
I'll move option A, that Dave Leach be appointed to represent the regional district on the Campbell River Table of Partners Working Group.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, we still didn't finish the first vote, but that's okay. So on the first, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And Director Dahl's motion? On A?
Second.
Director Rice, discussion. Director Sinat.
Worthwhile appointing an alternate? Yeah, is it worthwhile having an alternate to the appointment? We ran into that problem once.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea at all. If you asked my suggestion, oh, sorry, Kermit might have an idea.
I'll amend my motion to include Sean Koopman as an alternate.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. As motion is amended. We're going to vote on motion as amended. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. I'm sorry? Yeah, she's doing a good job babysitting me today. Okay, that was 10, so 10B. 10A? I thought we did 10B. Okay. Strengthening Community Service Program, Grant Extension. Report from the CAO be received. Director Mawhinney.
Second.
Director Rice. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Now B, that the service agreement with the Lakatouch Family Life Society as approved in the UBCM Grant Strengthening Communities application be extended to September 30th, 2023, and that the chair and the corporate officer be authorized to execute the contract amendment on behalf of the Strathcona Regional District. Motion, please.
Second.
Director Wally, Director Rice, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Just Like Home Lodge, Design and Contract Award. Report from the CEO be received.
Move receipt.
Director Mawhinney,
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion.
If I can, Mr. Chair, just to give a little background on this, the board has supported providing operational costs for the Just Like Home Lodge. And we have, in partnership with the Campbell River Hospital Foundation, been doing fundraising for the capital aspect of it. The funders would like to see some momentum, and so would we. Therefore, we have tendered out the design of the lodge and have a recommendation for award. The money will come from the foundation, so we have a memorandum of understanding between ourselves and the foundation is that they will we will get invoiced. They will provide us the resources for the invoice, and we'll provide that to the contractor. So our recommendation is that you'll support this.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B is that the chair and the corporate officer be authorized to execute the agreement with the Campbell River Hospital Foundation for the provision and expenditure of capital funds for the project Just Like Homes. Director Lott?
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And C, that the contract to develop a complete design for Just Like Homes Lodge will be awarded to Studio Hub Architects in the amount of $125,310. Do I have a motion, please? Director Chapman, Director Dahl. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Regional Housing Opportunity, report from the CAO, be received.
Move receipt.
Director Mawhinney, Director Rice, CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe Madison will speak to this for us.
Hello. Through the chair, this report responds to 2 resolutions from the board related to regional housing opportunities. Resolution 1 directed staff to report back on ways in which the SRD could take a more active role in ensuring that required housing, including diverse, affordable, and sustainable options, are being built throughout the region. And background research led to inquiries on the housing service bylaws in both the Comox Valley Regional District and the Cowichan Valley Regional District. Both programs utilize external support from established nonprofit agencies to make yearly recommendations on how to use the funding required through taxation through diverse subsidized housing models. Resolution 2 directed staff to report on the CMHC Housing Accelerator Fund, the HAF, and the SRD's eligibility for developing an application. The HAF is unique in that it is offering funding to create lasting change in the way we plan and action growth in our region. It is key to remember that this is an incentive fund and is not directed at funding any one housing development. So the SRD would be eligible to apply through the rural stream to benefit electoral areas B, C, and D. An application to the HAF would require a housing action plan and a housing growth target for each electoral area that wishes to participate. And because the SRD already has an updated housing needs assessment, that would not be part of our prior work for the application. The fund is scheduled to open this summer.
Okay. Anyone have questions? Director Mawhinney.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. And I'm curious about the housing action plan. What is included or required to have something like that? And also the timeline that would be required? Because I know that the Housing Accelerator Fund opens in September, I think.
Yeah, the date, through the chair, the date's not released yet as when it will open for applications. In the rural stream, the housing action plan means that we would have to have 5 actionable initiatives which contribute to an increased supply of housing and that positively impact associated timelines with development. So some examples of those would be promoting infill developments with increased housing density, or promoting and allowing more housing types that serve vulnerable populations. So we'd have to choose 5 or more initiatives to include in an action plan.
Okay, we're going to go to the CAO and then to Director Colburn.
Just quickly, when we were at FCM, Trudeau spoke on the Housing Accelerator Fund, and he said the more aggressive your housing density plans are, the more successful your applications and more generous they're going to be.
Director Colburn. You're muted.
Thank you. I heard mention that this was BCD, and I'm just wondering why all the electoral areas aren't included. This is not a conversation that I necessarily need to have with the area director, as I know his views on it. But housing really is a regional issue, and I'm just wondering why that area wouldn't be included in this. Just for information's sake, in case there was some kind of fit for something. Area A isn't just Sayward Valley. It also surrounds my entire the entire municipality here and includes many of the nations. So I'm just kind of curious. Through the chair to CAO.
CAO.
Thank you through the chair to the board. The electoral area A is unfortunately not eligible to be included in the project only because it has limited land use regulation abilities throughout the electoral area, and it does not impose development permit requirements, which is a requirement for the fund.
Thank you so much for the information.
How can we change that? Oh, Director Wally. Okay, we're voting on receipt. All in, oh, sorry.
Did anyone?
No, I think we answered all the questions. Oh, except for Director Dahl.
Sorry, I missed when you said this was going to open and close. I had a conversation with staff at City Hall this morning, and it sounded like the timelines are going to be super tight.
Yeah, they haven't opened applications yet, and they haven't announced the date when the applications will open. I understand many municipalities and other regions have hired consultants to get the action plan underway, so we would be looking to do that with a short turnaround here as well, if it was approved.
I have a question.
Director Vonish?
I'm just hearing Director Dahl speak. Is Campbell River and some of the other municipalities planning to apply for this funding as well? And just wondering kind of what the appetite in the room is. Like, does it make more sense to set this up as a sub-regional services?
I think, as I understand, most, if not all, the municipalities will likely apply. I can't understand why any wouldn't, and there's no kind of segregation or advantage from, doing it as a whole or doing something sub-regionally. It's municipalities and electoral areas, and I have to assume almost all municipalities are likely to apply.
Any further questions before we call question? All in favor of receipt? Opposed? Seeing none? Carried. I'm sorry?
There's a motion.
Yeah, that's on B, correct? Yep. That a further report be prepared for the board's consideration to investigate the possibility of establishing a housing service that would allow the regional district to be more proactive in dealing with housing supply and affordability, as well as the ability to access funding programs such as the Housing Accelerator Fund.
Seconded.
Director Lott, Director Mawhinney, or was it? Oh, Director Sinat, thank you. Discussion? Director Wally?
Yeah, I was just curious, if I understood right, our strategic priorities, I think the intent was to, for the regional district to buy land, build, say, an apartment complex, rent units, and below market value, and then make, I think it was a 5% profit we were talking about. And it just seems to me, why wouldn't the municipalities want to do that themselves and pocket the 5% instead of letting the regional district do it? I'm just curious about that.
CAO?
Well, I think in terms of this fund, and I think that's a topic B, if you will, this fund and other programs, if they're housing programs and your regional district, which we all operate the same, if you don't have a housing service, you can't access the funds and there's no point in applying. So I think that's a separate conversation. It doesn't fall exactly under this. This is housing. This is an interesting program where it's not technically connected to how many homes you build, but your plan and how aggressive you're going to be. But again, to access these and what's moving forward is if you're a regional district, the municipalities don't need one, but if you're a regional district and you don't have a housing service, I mean, there's no sense of applying because you're going to give you money for what? To do, if you don't have a housing service, you're not doing anything. So if it's the board's intent to pursue these funds and programs, there's no sense in doing it unless we pursue a housing service.
Go ahead, Director.
Yeah, I was just curious because it would seem to me that the municipalities are competing against themselves when they support the board to do a project they may want to undertake themselves because there's only so many winners when it comes to the applications for the grants.
Well, I think, again, being part of those conversations, I think it depends what that is for. We talked about, let's say, workforce housing at strategic planning. So workforce housing, let's say, for the hospital would support the workforce that supports all of us in all the regional districts. So I think respectively, it depends on what that housing you're talking about is for. And so once those individual subjects come to the table, that might be a fair argument and you might agree with something else, right? That depends on what the topic is.
Any further discussion? Director Mawhinney.
Well, I was curious if this report that's coming back could have more details also about what a housing action plan would look like or how that would happen, because that sounds like something pretty relevant if we're considering this accelerator fund.
Yeah, and it will. Again, you're just trying to get the board's support. If this is something you want to look at, this kicks it off. If not, it's just dead in the water. Let's stop talking about housing. Right? Because if you're not going to start a housing fund, a service, then we don't have anything.
Director Colburn.
Thanks. Yeah, and those conversations, I'll be interested in seeing the strategic report when it comes out as well. There's lots of conversations in that, and I think the availability to explore the options, anything that can open that up to explore the options and to get more information on that would be good for us to have. Also, knowing that speaking from, again, from just my perspective and our experience in maybe smaller communities, if there's a way that we can leverage that, then that's great. I don't think that there's a way that we can compete with anybody with smaller communities with our capacity issues. So having that kind of leverage, if it's done regionally, then, that helps. Just to the other director's comment.
Thank you. Director Chapman.
Thank you, Chair. As I understand it, areas B and C wouldn't have an opportunity to apply or to benefit from any housing accelerator fund if we don't start the service. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I mean, any electoral area has no chance if we don't have a housing service. It's you can't funnel money through nothing, and so we wouldn't be successful unless we had a housing service. And that doesn't mean we need to requisition buckets of money, but it shows initiative and that we're working towards something to do with housing.
Director Chapman.
Just as a follow-up, I support the resolution. I think we should keep our options open, and if that means creating a housing service, then we should continue and play our part in being part of the solution.
Agreed.
There, if I can too, there's a few things that could fall under this umbrella. Again, at strategic planning, we talked about workforce housing. So a housing service can be a lot of things. So this could branch into a number of things that the board was talking about last week.
Okay. Call to question. All in favor? Opposed?
Put me down as opposed. I like it.
And Director Wally's opposed?
Well, you're included, are you?
Got to keep my reputation up.
You got to keep the reputation going. Shocked as I am. Okay. 13, riparian tax exemption application. Report from the CAO be received.
Move receipt.
Director Rice.
Second.
Director Morwini. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. First Nations engagement and, what?
An item there,
Was there an item?
and I'm looking for
Oh,
discussion.
I'm sorry. You're looking for discussion? Talk to Gerald. No, I'm sorry. Sorry, that wasn't very nice. Oh, sorry, couldn't help it. Yeah, there is two options, A or B.
Yeah.
Director Rice.
I need a little bit of help with this before I can make a decision. So I've read the report very carefully. I'm not sure why in 2019 a similar application was not approved. So I'm hoping that staff could give me some feedback on that, please. Thank you.
Sure. Annika will.
Thank you through the chair to the board. A previous request was received historically. Further research was happening internally to try to ascertain whether or not the property was eligible for a riparian tax exemption. A number of staff were involved in exploring the current covenants that were encumbering the parcel to determine whether the property was eligible. However, between the research and a return of a staff report to board, there was some change in staffing, and the request just never made it back to the board. So at that point, we were unable to provide the board with the required follow-up to determine whether or not an application could even be considered. This new request, however, was again researched by staff, and it was confirmed that at this time there is no environmentally sensitive areas covenant attached to the parcel that would allow the parcel to be eligible.
So just to give a little context, folks, sometimes people will write into the board and request something from ourselves, and to get a tax exemption from a riparian area, that you can possibly get an exemption to that portion of your land that has a covenant on that. That covenant would have to be registered by the regional district on that on that portion of land, and then we would review that, bring it to the board and say, okay, this portion of land and this is what they're available for. The amount of money is very small. However, we get people that just make applications to the regional district asking for tax exemptions, and they have no covenant registered by the regional district on their land. So it can be quite time consuming for us. However, we have a policy of bringing requests to the board to them, and this is one of those.
Thank you for those responses. So based on that, I would move option B.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Director Mawhinney, further discussion? All in favor of option B?
Oh, sorry, another question.
Oh, sorry, Director Vonish.
Just looking at the attachments to this, it seems to state that there is a covenant in place already, as per subject to covenant CA 6521-204. Am I reading that wrong? Does this already have a covenant in place?
To Aniko.
Thank you, through the chair to the director. There is a covenant registered on title, but it is not an environmentally sensitive areas covenant. It's a covenant related to drainage works and associated works for development, but it is not an environmentally sensitive areas covenant, and it does not regulate development as it relates to environmental considerations.
Thanks for clarifying.
Director Mawhinney.
Is there a way that we could provide the information to this applicant so that if they wanted to adjust their covenant for the future, they could?
CAO.
Well, I don't think there's any ability to adjust the covenant. I mean, it would have been a covenant that was, put in place regulatory, I'm going to say. So, I mean, you can't just throw a covenant on your property and, to get a tax exemption. So either one was put on. I don't know how long this person's owned this property, whether it pre-exceeded him or not. But we would likely reply back to say there is no covenant in place that would allow you to receive a tax exemption.
Any other discussion? Okay, call to question. We got A is on the table, sorry, B is on the table. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Excuse me. And a report, and that, sorry, oh, such a waived. The report to be prepared on how the regional district can meaningfully engage First Nations given the capacity issues they face, including comprehension. Am I not here?
I think you jumped right to the right.
Did I jump? Sorry, one of those days. Sorry?
We haven't received.
You haven't received? Well, why not?
Because you didn't call.
Oh, that'd be why. Okay, First Nation Engagement Advisory Group, that the report from the CAO be received.
Move receipt.
Second. Director Vonish, Director Rice. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? See none, carried. Now, that the report be prepared on how regional district can meaningfully engage the First Nations given the capacity issues they face, including comprehension of their time, compensation, thank you, for their time, and that outline the requirements to create an advisory group at the regional district and be prepared for the board's consideration. Director Lott?
Second.
Director Mulwini, discussion. Director Wally?
Just a question, where it says including compensation for time, does that mean we're going to pay an hourly rate for consulting?
CEO?
Well, I don't know. That's yet to be determined, I suppose. There's often times when there's stipends or gifts provided to First Nations folks on the work they're providing or supporting to us, so.
Yeah, kind of like when we have a workshop and we get paid for it, or, anything like that, same thing. Any other discussion? Director Chapman?
I've seen this come up before in other places, and sometimes if they need a consultant, it may require us to pay for that consultant. So we should be prepared for that eventuality.
And in the report, we'd outline those things that we find, so.
Okay. Any other discussion? Nope. Okay. Call to question. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Land use concurrence request, Rogers Communication, report from the CAO.
Move receipt.
Second. Director Rice, second. Do we have a second? Sorry, Director Chapman. Discussion? Right, we have options A and B.
I would move option A.
Second. Director Mulwini. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Number 23, UBCM, Convention and Minister Meetings. Move receipt. Director Wally, Director Rice, discussion.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, annually we get the request from UBCM for ministerial meetings. The two that are, I guess, timely are the request for the meeting with the Premier and Municipal Affairs, I believe. So we don't have to decide at this meeting, and we don't have to have it in, I think, till the end of this month. For Edith, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we have till the 30th, June 30th, thank you. So I've given some suggestions. The board doesn't have to commit to that. You don't have to worry about meeting dates, times, subject matters right now either with other ministries. Those can be made by staff separately, but it's more of a application-based, if you will, for the Premier and the Minister of Municipal Affairs. We've given some history, some current topics. We just went through strategic planning, so if anyone has thoughts, if not, we can, if you want, you can also defer this to next meeting if you want to have some time to think about some items.
Yeah, if we defer to the next meeting, we're past the 30th deadline, correct? No?
We have another meeting before the 30th.
Oh. Director Wally?
I'd like to express a thought, and that is on the pathology lab for our Canberra River Hospital. I know it's a hospital board perhaps issue that they're not willing to deal with. I think as Strathcona Regional District, the hospital's in our district, and if we could speak with the minister about the shortcomings of our pathology lab, it might go some distance to helping resolve that problem.
Would that be the Minister of Municipal Affairs, or do you think a different ministry? The only two we need to submit on a timeline right now is the Premier and Municipal Affairs. So pathology might be under Minister Dix.
It might not hurt to talk to the Premier. That's a thought.
I agree with Director Wally. Director Chapman?
I think if it's an important, really important issue, I think we should be getting our tails down to Victoria here pretty quick and having a meeting with the Minister of Health. And then we can use this meeting as a follow-up as what they found. But I don't think, I think it's folly for us to think that we're going to have a 15-minute meeting with the minister and expect something's going to happen. I think we need to get down there to Victoria. We need to make an appointment with the Minister of Health right now and get in as soon as we can so that this meeting can be used as a follow-up on what they've proposing to do.
Okay, great. Anybody else? Director Dahl? Oh, okay. Director Mawhinney?
Thank you. I'm not sure if this necessarily falls under either of these two specific ministers or premiers, but I was wondering about trying to find alignment between the strategic priorities that we have been working on and these conversations that we have an opportunity to have. And something that I think would be great to include or consider would be emergency planning and climate resilience.
If I may, given the past history of going to a number of these meetings, I think what you want to do is target specific issues, grants, funding opportunities for them. It's kind of speed dating. You know, you get 3 topics, 15 minutes. They're going through, 150 to 200 local governments. And so I think you want to target things that you're really passionate, you want to advocate for.
Okay. Director Mawhinney, you did? Great. Anybody else in discussion? So we're going to wait till the next meeting, correct?
Yeah, I don't hear too much feedback, and I need to fill in some spaces. So maybe a motion to defer to, is it the 26th, Edith? When's our meeting? 28th. And then hopefully folks can come armed with some ideas.
I can move to defer this to the next meeting.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Director Rice, discussion? All in favor? Carried. So we won't worry about B until the next meeting as well? And C? Do you want to defer all the bylaws to the next one as well? No?
I think so.
Yeah, that'd be, for speed, no? Okay. So thought. Bylaws, bylaw number 480, Duncan Bay Area Fire Protection Service report. Thank you.
Second.
Director Rice, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? None, carried.
I move that bylaw number 480 being Duncan Bay Area Fire Protection Service. I move that bylaw number 480 being Duncan Bay Area Fire Protection Service establishing bylaw 2022 be now reconsidered, finally passed and adopted.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Bylaw 487, electoral area C. Warp service, report from the CAO be received. Director
Move
Mawhinney.
receipt.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None? Carried. And that the total number of electors within the affected area of 487 be fairly determined to be 2,419 for the purpose of alternative proposed process.
So moved.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. I'm going to put C and D together. And that the deadline for submission for electoral response in respect to the alternative approved process for 487 be established for 4:30 p.m. on Thursday, August 3rd, 2023. And that electoral, no, they have to be separate? Okay. So moved, Director Wally.
Second.
Director Mawhinney, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And D, that the electoral response attached to the June 9th, 2023 report of the CAO be approved for use in the alternative approval process, bylaw 487.
So moved.
Director Moe, Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Bylaw number 500, Saybrook Valley Solid Waste Rates. Move receipt, Director Wally.
Second.
Director Rice. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And that bylaw 500, being a bylaw to amend the rates charged for the use of Saybird Valley Solid Waste Collection Service, now be introduced and read for the first time. Director Wally?
Second.
Director Rice, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. And that the rules be suspended for bylaw 500 and be given second and third readings. Director Wally, Director Rice, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And the bylaw 500 being Saybird Valley Solid Waste Collection Service Rates Regulation Bylaw 218, Amendment Number 2, now be reconsidered and finally passed and adopted.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And that the chair and the corporate officer be authorized to execute in purpose of modification agreement for solid waste management, include provisions in additional bags in the curbside collection and household solid waste to Saybird Valley. Director Wally?
Second.
Director Rice, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Bylaw 501, Building Regulation Bylaw Amendment. Thank you. Director
Second.
Wally, Director Rice, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B, that the bylaw 501, being a bylaw to amend the building regulation application for Area D, now be introduced and read for the first time.
Move recommendation.
Director Rice.
Second.
Director Moyni, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And that the rules suspended for 501 be given second and third readings.
Move recommendation.
Discussion? Director Dahl, do you have anything to add? No? You're good? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And that bylaw 501 being building registration bylaw 2015 Amendment 1 be reconsidered, finally passed and adopted.
Move recommendation.
Second.
I'll let you split the difference. Direction? Direction. Give me direction. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Bylaw 502. Quas? Thank you.
Quas.
Pardon me?
Yes, Quas.
Quas, thank you. Park Addition, the report from the CAO be received.
Move it. Move receipt.
Director Vonish,
Second.
Director Rice, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, it is carried. And that bylaw 502, being a bylaw to authorize the acquisition of land within electoral area B for a community park purpose, now be introduced and read for the first time.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. And that the that the rules be suspended for bylaw 502, be given second and third readings.
So moved.
Director Mawhinney,
Second.
Director Rice, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And bylaw number 502 being Quas Parkland Acquisition Authorization Bylaw 2023 be reconsidered, finally passed and adopted. Director Lott?
Second.
Director Vonish, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Correspondence. OpenNet, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 7. So correspondence 1 through 7 be received.
Could we pull number 7?
Oh, can I?
Are you rapping? Sorry, Director Colburn, do you want to try that again, please?
Can we pull 3, please?
Sure.
1 and 2, 5 and 6, 4, 5 and 6. 2, 4, 5, 6.
I'm sorry, you want 2, 4, 5, 6 pulled?
1 and 2, 4, 5 and 6.
Pulled.
No.
Okay, Director Mawhinney, you had one you wanted pulled?
The others.
All the others be pulled.
1 and 2, 4, 5 and 6.
Thank you. Second, Director Dahl, here he is. Discussion. All in favor? Seeing opposed, seeing none, we'll start with number 3. Director Colburn, you're up.
Thank you. So I would move that it be received.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Thank you for that. And this seems like something that possibly could be a UBCM topic. So I'm just putting that out there for consideration for the board. That the information contained in this about legislative reform could be something that we could be going to the premier with.
Right, thank you. Number 7? Nope. Call to question, sorry. All in favor?
Is there any discussion about that? Is that something that anybody wants to do, or?
Director Mawhinney does.
I agree with you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I think it's worth considering too.
Did you want to put a motion forward on that, Director Colburn? No?
We'll bring it up on the deferred one.
We'll bring it up on the deferred portion of our program on the 28th.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, number 7. Director Mawhinney.
Thank you. Well, this was a letter from an accessible childcare organization, and I know that many of our communities are working on childcare and making sure that we can provide the support that we can. This letter is asking for a resolution that we would make and submit to UBCM in support of extending the granting opportunities so that child care centers aren't needing to reapply every year. That was my understanding. So there is a rather lengthy suggested motion in the letter. I'm not sure if you want me to read it all, or I'm curious what other people think about the idea of supporting this idea at UBCM.
Seconder?
Oh, yeah, there was that.
There was that, yeah.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Director Mawhinney has asked a question. No?
Is your motion this resolution?
It would be.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor.
I would second that motion.
What's the motion on the floor?
It is quite lengthy. It's about 4 paragraphs there. It's on the last page of their correspondence.
The motion on the floor is still receipt.
No, it's still receipt.
We haven't called the question on receipt yet.
Okay, we'll call the question because I think Director Mawhinney made that motion.
If it was something that people were interested in.
You'll find out if they vote yes for the motion.
So on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next motion, please. Director Mawhinney.
No, I think
No.
just make the motion that's attached to the correspondence.
Okay, I would like to make the motion that is attached to the accessible childcare correspondence, which is rather long, and essentially resolves that UBCM urge the Ministry of Education and Childcare to replace the current grant-based application process with a systematic expansion of universal childcare that upholds UNDRIP obligations and supports the involvement of, but does not rely on, local and Indigenous governments and not-profit organizations to coordinate design and implementation.
Yep. Do we have a second?
Second.
Director Vonish, further discussion? All in favor?
Oh, Julie's got her hand up.
Julie's got her hand up. Director Colburn.
So the motion that's on the floor right now is that the sample resolution that is within the correspondence be submitted to UBC. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure because, yeah, I just wanted to make sure it was really clear. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Director Wally? Anyone else? Nope. Okay, motion is carried. Oh, I guess I went too fast. We're almost done. Rural Conference update. Director Mawhinney will provide a verbal synopsis of the, oh, sorry, it doesn't say synopsis. I apologize. In keeping the rural conference that was held on June 1st and 2nd, 23. Director Mawhinney?
Aren't we on Growing Communities Fund?
I'm sorry, Director Davis?
Aren't we on Growing Communities Fund?
No, sorry, that, on the beginning of the meeting, sorry you weren't here, that was amended and taken off the agenda.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, Director Mawhinney, your synopsis, please.
My synopsis. Thank you, Chair. At the beginning of June, I had the good fortune to spend 2 days with rural leaders from across the province at the BC Rural Centre's Keeping It Rural conference. We discussed forestry, agriculture, watershed management, rural innovation, mega projects, healthcare, reconciliation, and the erosion of the right to be rural and how to restore it. Most of us around this table represent rural communities. Connecting with rural leaders across the province highlighted the similar challenges and opportunities many areas face. The Parliamentary Secretary for Rural Health, Jennifer Rice, and Parliamentary Secretary for Rural Development, Roly Russell, brought provincial perspectives to the conference. Until now, I didn't know these two rural advocates existed. It was excellent to meet them. Chief Clarence Louie of the Osoyoos Indian Band discussed rural economic development, hard work, land back, and the difference between profits and maximizing profits, which is, quote, what got us into this corporate mess. Chief George Lampro of the Seemp First Nation highlighted their nation's holistic approach to environmental assessment and that his nation is working toward an MOU with municipalities within their nation's geographic area to build a better future for all. We heard from forestry operators working to achieve margins through value added, not driving prices down, and about community forests from a First Nations perspective. The agricultural panel questioned what the culture of food growing is in our regions because, quote, we all need to eat, and discussed food hubs and small-scale meat production. At the Rural Innovation Panel, I learned innovation is best when working with place-based strengths and that it's a social process which can be a catalyst for economic development and diversification. It was stated that the reality for rural innovation is there are proportionately higher costs and it's best to think of it as a marathon, not a sprint. Broadband infrastructure was mentioned as key to supporting innovation, and Connected Coast was highlighted as an example of great work connecting rural communities to the world. The conference was held in Kelowna, an area central to much of BC. A non-rural location was deliberately chosen because the pressure of a conference on a small rural community could present unwanted challenges to that community. And I thought it was a valuable learning experience.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Director Mawhinney?
I have just a comment.
Go ahead, Director Vonish.
Robin, really appreciate you going to that conference and reporting back. I'd love to, get an email of that, of your written report as well. It sounded like you were reading it, so it might be easy for you to do that.
To receive the report, please. Director Wally, your second. Director Chapman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Just kidding. Seeing none, motion is carried. Okay. We have now come to the portion of the program where we have to say goodbye. Move termination. Director Dahl was quick on that one.
Can't let Robin get her name on
Second.
Good, Director Dahl. Discussion? Everybody sure you want to terminate?
Yes.
Okay. Then I guess we're done. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good day.
Chair.